Well, welcome back again to Cassim, and in this video what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a reaction video about a video that has been circulating the internet. Actually, it was a Channel 4 program. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. The Supervet. With Noel Fitzpatrick, an amazing program, and he just literally is the epitome. Noel's just the epitome of what I believe to be the most kind human being, and when you have an intention and a love and you use what you do in service of other people, in service of animals, in service of those beyond yourself, what can happen? He really is the epitome of that. And you can literally see his love and his passion pour through. Just the dedication that he has towards animals, and I just think it's inspiring. So there was a video which he put out, or certainly Channel 4 put out, of ELVIS, and they described him as one of the most trusting dogs, and I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a reaction and some thoughts on that, of what I thought, and perhaps it can be of some value to you in your life. Maybe it can inspire you, it can uplift you, it can give you some hope in your life. Maybe it can help you get from hope to even faith, to believing in love again, to believing in life, to believing in your dreams, but in some way it can add some value to you. So I hope that this time that we spend together today can in some way sort of lift you up and help you soar. So let's talk about this. So one of the things that I've always believed is that when we look at nature, and in fact I'm currently in the process of writing a book at the moment about lessons from nature, from animals. But I've essentially always believed that nature has these lessons. It has mastered. Nature is the ultimate, and animals are the ultimate illustration of mastery. Nature, a tree has mastered how to be a tree. A fish has mastered how to be a fish. And I believe that we can learn a lot from nature and animals. And I think in this video, what I wanted to illustrate to you is a couple of things that I believe this dog taught us about humanity, about what it teaches us about mastery, about what truly is possible when we are really ignite the spark, the light, the love, the joy, the spirit, our soul, and really let it roar and let it shine. So let's go through it. The first reaction and thought that I thought about when I was watching this video is that, isn't it wonderful that every now and then we have somebody come into our lives that changes our life? And in fact, before I continue, what I want to do is that I want to just take 10 seconds of your life, just as we listen to this video, just to get you to just take 10 seconds to reflect on somebody in your life who has helped you get to where you've got to. I know that the world can be cruel. I know that there are people who betrayed you. I know that there are killers. I know that there are rapists. But every single one of us in our lives, no matter who you are, there is somebody who's invested more than they needed to. There is a friend, there is a cousin, there is a nephew, there is a work colleague, there is a best friend who's invested something in your life, and they've given you hope, and they've believed in you. And they've been there to hold your hand when you thought everybody wouldn't hold your hand. When you've told them your secrets and you've showed them your darkness, and they've accepted you for who you were. And I just want to take a few minutes, 10 seconds, just to stop and reflect on how lucky you are to have even had somebody like that in your life. So let the 10 seconds begin now. And that right there is 10 seconds. And I don't know who you were thinking of. It may have been a best friend. It may have been somebody who passed away. It may have been your father. It may have been your mother. It may have been even a sister of yours, a nephew, a grandparent. But I think one of the wonderful things in life is that there is a possibility that we do, every single one of us has somebody who comes along and helps us soar. We do have somebody who comes along and who does invest more than they need to, who does see us for who we're capable of. Some people may call that a mentor, some people may call that a guiding light, they may call them an angel. But I believe that we all have them, and I think so many times we live in a world today where we can believe that the world is just full of darkness, that everybody in the world is a rapist, is a killer, is a bomber, is some criminal, is in a gang. But actually, not everybody is. In fact, I found that the great majority of people, we're loving, we're kind, we want to embrace, and we want to connect, and we want to show who we really are, and we want to manifest our greatness, and we want to help other people shine bright and lift themselves up. I think it's just very difficult sometimes when you come from a background which is tough, when you come from a world which has been, you had to fight for everything, where everything has been a struggle, where you just have not had that breakthrough, where you just have not had that that just break in your life. It is hard to believe that life can be like that. You know, some people, some of you, you've had so many people betray you in your relationships. Again and again and again and again. The betrayal is unreal. I mean, the disloyalty, the lying, the cheating is beyond comprehension. And it's like, how can there be any people out there who are loyal, who are loving, who actually make a commitment to you and will abide by that commitment? Because I've got to be honest with you, Cass, these people, I haven't seen them, these people you're talking about. I lie. I've seen them in other people's lives, but somehow they never seem to come to me. Cass, man, I'm telling you, man, I've been working hard on my business. I've been putting in the hours. I have been an amazing human being. I've given to everybody. I've shared my life with everybody. I've made time for everybody else. I've invested in everybody else. I've changed myself, my beauty, my body. I've changed my personality. I've to try and comfort other people, right? I've made sacrifices for other people, and yet I have nothing. I have nothing. And you're saying to me, Kaz, that these people exist. Where are they? Where are these people? And I think sometimes it's very easy for us to go in the world and believe that because we haven't had these people come into our lives. But I ask you not to give up. I ask you not to give in. I ask you not to lose hope. Be that beacon. Be that person who doesn't give up, because that person is coming. In fact, your current hardship is training you for when you get that person in your life, you will appreciate them even more. When that person comes into your life and you invest that time and you invest that money, that actually it will be even more fruitful than it could have been before. It's really interesting because one of the great things, I've had the opportunity to study people who've been in long-term relationships and interview them. And one of the great things that happens is that, and was actually a surprise when I first started studying and interviewing people, was that many times the first relationship or marriage that people are in, or long-term relationship, may have been the most painful. It may have been the most bitter, where the person was in an abusive relationship, they were cheated on, there was a lot of infidelity, whatever. That may have been the most painful, but they hang in there and they did the best that they could. But this new relationship has been able to be even more loving because of that hurt. They attracted somebody who would never do that. And as a result, they've been together for 30 years. They're even more loving. They've built an amazing family. They're even more closer than they've ever been before with any human being. They found their best friend. They found their spiritual partner. They found the part of them which was missing to complete who they are. And I just think that you can't really have all of those things unless you recognize and sometimes are grateful for all the amazing people who you've had in your life. Because we have all had amazing people in our lives. Whether we realize it or not, or say Cassim, well, yeah, but they're an exception. You have had amazing people in your life. You have had people who've invested in you, who've been with you, who have helped you out. That was just the first thing that I was thinking about. The next thing that I was thinking about as I was watching this video is when you have been through devastation, when you have been through trauma, when you have been through heartache, when you have been betrayed, when you have been abandoned, when you have been lonely, there is a sensitivity that I think begins to creep into your life. And as I was watching this video, I thought about this. I thought, you know, there is so many people who I meet, and I think you will agree with me here. There are so many people who you meet in your life, and they're just so angry. They're just so pissed off all the time. And you ask yourself, and sometimes you're like, I don't understand why this person is so angry. I don't understand why this person is so bitter. I don't understand why this person is so negative. I don't understand. What is this person's problem? And you even yourself have tried to be kind. You've tried to invest time in them. You've clearly can tell something is going on, and you're like, do you know what? I'm going to try my very best to do the best that I can. But this person just will not let you in. They just will not allow you to break free that shield that they've had put up, so that you can allow their light to shine. They just will not give it a rest. They just continuously keep building even more and more and more barriers and more walls. And I think one of the things that is important for us to recognize in ourselves, and I've had to recognize this, is in what way what we've been through has manifested. So let me give you an example. So when I was growing up in Africa, one of the things that happened is my mum left me with my auntie. I'm going to go deep now. Okay, so when I was about 8 years of age, my mum moved to England when she got married, but I couldn't come with her because they didn't have the money to bring me over to England, and you had to pay for a passport and you had to get citizenship, and they didn't have money. So what my mum did is she came to England, and she worked for a year while she was actually pregnant. She was working in a factory, didn't even tell the people that she was pregnant. She tried to hide her pregnancy because she knew she would lose her job. Anyway, so she ended up eventually leaving me in Africa for like a year. She came back for me. When I was growing up, I felt a sense of abandonment. Now, I couldn't articulate this. I didn't know how to put this until I actually started studying success and why some people became successful and unhappy. It wasn't until I started studying spirituality and I started journaling and I started having to write books and I started having to read the dictionary. I'd never had the words to articulate this. It wasn't until I started studying therapy and psychology that I then understood how to articulate what I felt. But essentially what I felt was I felt a sense of abandonment. And when I've been growing up as an adult, one of the things that the way in which that manifested itself is that I've always had a lot of problems with, how do I put this, with committing to people. And what I mean by this is that I'm one of those people that I learned about myself where I will trust you, but I will not put my all into you for a long time. I will not invest too much into you. And actually, if you look at my life, so for example, if I look at a lot of my friends, they constantly text each other, they constantly see each other, they constantly call each other, they constantly FaceTime each other. They're in constant communication all the time. I'm not like that in any way whatsoever. And I've had to recognize this in myself, in that part of me being abandoned as a child, I became self-reliant. I essentially learned to rely primarily on myself. And in fact, if you see much of the things that I do in my life, many of the things that I do in my life involve me having to do them by myself and not having to rely on other people. So for example, when I decided to do Cassim, in a sense, I didn't even think about this before, but in a sense, if you look at what I do, I don't need very many people to do this. I need a camera and I need myself. All the research I do myself. All the thinking I do myself. I do not need many other people. And what I began to notice about myself as I've been journaling and reading all these things about and trying to study myself and look inwards, is that whilst that is good, you have to be aware of in what way what you've been through has manifested itself. And I think so many times we can think that we've always been a certain way, when actually what we went through an experience in our life, maybe at 5, well, maybe at 10, when our parents divorced, when we saw our father hitting our mother, whatever it may be, where we then reacted in a certain way and we suppressed certain feelings, or we had certain resentment, and it manifested itself in a certain way. Recently, one of the things that I've had to learn is about forgiveness. And I didn't realize that a lot of us have a lot of unforgiving that we have to do. Part of the journey that I had to go through is that I had to forgive my mum for leaving me, for abandoning me. Now, that may seem really stupid, almost like, Cass, grow up, like, shut the fuck up, like, what a pussy, do you know what I mean? And it's like, you forgive your mum, but your mum didn't do anything, she was just trying to do, but I hadn't dealt with those emotions. I hadn't forgiven my mum. I genuinely was pissed off the fact that my mum left me. Now, I didn't know how to articulate that. I didn't know how to, like, get that across, because I'd never really, like, as a man, I'd never had anybody to show me how to deal with those kinds of emotions. I don't understand, like, I don't know, unless some of you can tell me somewhere as a man where you get taught how to overcome resentment or how to forgive your parents for abandoning you. I'd never found anywhere. Nobody had ever told me. I didn't even know it was a thing. And so I had to, and I think I had to go through that process. And my point is a lot of us, we go through stuff, we don't deal with it, we kind of bury it, but we don't realize that it manifests itself in loads of different ways. And it's important, I feel, that as we grow older, as we mature as individuals, that in order for us to develop as human beings, that we have to go through the process where we recognize how that is manifesting itself. Are we angry all the time? What's our energy levels like? Do we get tired? You know, it's actually really tiring when you constantly have to harbor and carry around with you unforgiveness. It uses energy to be angry all the time at your ex-partner. You know, some people are in a new relationship, but they're harboring the resentment and the bitterness and the unforgiveness from their previous relationship where they didn't deal with it. And it's manifesting itself in a way that in this new relationship, anytime the guy does anything which remotely reminds the girl of what the other partner was like, the girl then says, well, she actually acts in a way where she would say things like this: you're just like all the other guys. What she means is, you're just behaving in the same way as my old partner used to behave. And this may be slightly a bit different. Maybe in a previous relationship you used to have arguments all the time. So in this argument, the way it's manifested is that you don't want to get into arguments. So there are things which you need to deal with in a relationship, which you need to give your point of view, your opinion on, but you won't speak about what you believe because you don't want it to manifest itself in the same way that it did in your previous relationship. Does this kind of make sense what I mean? I don't know. Am I going too deep today? I think I'm going too deep today, but I really want to try and serve you and help you and add some value into your life. And that's why I'm kind of going very deep today, and even kind of sharing my own personal life. But I think it's really important for us to look at that and how it's manifesting itself. And one of the big lessons that I've had to learn in my life is not to separate things. I think and believe that a lot of us, there is a habit that we have, especially women. Women are very, very good at doing this, where where women separate events that have happened in their life. So, for example, when I studied women who had been through an abusive relationship, one of the things that I would hear them say is that they would say things like this. They would say, yeah, but that time he was angry. Yeah, but that time I'd wind him up. Instead of connecting the dots and saying, okay, what keeps happening? This has happened on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What they would do is say, yeah, but that time was different. Yeah, but that time I was drunk. Yeah, but that time I wound him up. But yeah, but that time I started it. And all of a sudden, if you do that, then it is completely separate events. But what ends up happening is it actually all starts manifesting itself and adding up and all starts connecting with each other. And I just believe that we need to stop as individuals trying to separate each other. Everything seems to have a connection to everything else in your life if you begin to actually look. Why are you angry? Is it that you're angry because you keep all your friends have something which you would like to have? I had a friend of mine, and she was saying to me, Cassim, I never hang around with girls. I said, why don't you hang around with girls? She said, a lot of girls don't like me. I said, why don't girls like you? She said, I don't know. And I said to her, could it be the fact that you are currently in a relationship, and in your relationship, you're in a relationship where the person cheats on you, they've betrayed you several times, you've gone through all sorts of things where you become pregnant and had abortions and stuff like that, and your friends have given you advice, and they believe that you're worth a lot more, but you've not listened to them, and you haven't believed them, and you've decided to stay in a relationship. And so for them, the biggest frustration that they have with you is that they look at you and they see you as being good looking, which you clearly are. You would, to the average man, you are easily a 10. Easily. I would go on 11. To most women, you have the most amazing body. You're mixed race, you have a big ass, you have big boobs, you have curvy body, you are fit, you work out, you can articulate yourself, you have an amazing curly hair, which I hear girls all the time talking about your hair. So could it be the fact that women are looking at you and they're kind of resenting you because you have everything which they would believe to be your value, but you don't recognize it, and so every time they're around you, you remind them of what they could have, but the fact that you're squandering it. And all of a sudden she starts thinking, oh my god, yeah, but then I never, oh yeah, that will explain why I did it. And all of a sudden she starts putting I'm literally looking at her start putting the pieces all together. Do you see what I mean? But she'd never thought about it in that way. Does that kind of make sense? I know I'm going deep today. So that's the next thing that I was thinking about as I was watching the video. The last thing that I was thinking about, which as I was watching this video, was this: that in life, I believe that we come up to what I called defining moments. Let me go further. So every single one of us, if you look at your life, if you look at your family's life, if you look at your friend's life, I think you will agree with me that there seems to be these moments, these crossroads, these defining moments in life. And if I ask you, if you went back and looked at your life, there are moments in your life that if you'd done that, where you made certain decisions, that if you hadn't made those decisions, your life would not be where it is. The decision to get into a relationship, the decision to study, to go to uni or not to go to uni, the decision to go for a job interview or not to go for a job interview. But there seems to be moments in life that seem to be defining. And in the moment, these decisions may almost seem insignificant, but the way in which, whichever path that you decide to go actually alters the course of your life. And here's my point. I've come to the conclusion that depending on how you handle these defining moments will actually either decide whether you either turn to the light or whether you turn to the darkness. Let me go further. when I've studied people who have gone from nothing to something, they've been from a council estate and turned their lives around. They've been, their mother was a heroin addict and they were born into a family or an area where their mother was in prison when they were born. That these kinds of situations, I think you know where I'm going with this, that these individuals, it is the default setting for you is that you automatically are actually going to turn to the dark side. And in life, and what happens is that we come to points in our lives where we can either decide to continue going down the dark side, or we can decide to turn to the light. I believe, and I don't know if you agree with me here, so tell me what you think, that so many of us in life know people who we know we're not destined for the darkness. We know people in our lives who we know we're not supposed to be down the criminal road. We know they were not supposed to be playing small. That person, if we went and looked in the mirror, might be us. But we know people, we just know they weren't supposed to be a bad person. We know that they were supposed to be happy, that they were supposed to soar, that they were supposed to influence thousands, that they were supposed to influence millions, that they were supposed to go on and do remarkable things in their life. We know it. Many of us may have heard people say to people in our lives, say things like this: you know, there is something special about you. There's something different about you. There's something different about the way that you think. You know, you're gonna do great at this. And many times I think it's really difficult when you come from adversity, when you come from the dark side, which is what you've been born into, when you come from misfortune, when the hands that you've been dealt have been not the most favorable. It's very easy to think that that is the way in which life was destined to be. But I believe that there seems to be a calling, there seems to be a yearning, a sort of I don't know, a drive for us to actually, or for you, or for people who you know, to turn to the light. And I would encourage you that if you're one of these people where you know it, and I've discovered you know it, if you were somebody who wasn't supposed to be a dickhead, you know you weren't supposed to be a dickhead. You may have been brought up in that culture. Everybody around you might be a dickhead. Everybody around you might be a hater. Everybody around you might be negative. Everybody around you might be getting into drugs and abusing themselves. But you will know deep down that that wasn't really what you were meant for. You know deep down really that wasn't your destiny. You know deep down really that you could do more with your life than you currently are doing. You know it. You can't articulate it. You don't know how you're going to manifest it, but you know it. You know that you're destined for something a bit more. It's like, I remember I was watching that movie, The Lion King. And in The Lion King, you watch The Lion King and you've got this little cub and you can see Simba. He knows that he's destined for something great. And he grows and he moves. Obviously loads of things happen in the movie and he ends up in this forest and with all the pig and whatever. But he knows deep down that he was supposed to be doing something else. He knows deep down that he was destined not to just simply be a lion in the jungle somewhere, that he was supposed to rule. And it yearns to him and it calls to him and it tells him, and I believe that so many of you out there, you know that there is something that you should be doing. There's a dream, there's a passion, there's a vision, there's a calling that you have in your life. You know you're in a relationship which you shouldn't be in. You know that you're supposed to go out there and influence people and share your story. There is something which you know you should be doing. And yet you're resisting it, you're fighting it, you're going against it. And I want to warn you that if you continue down that path, unfortunately, I found that it only gets worse. And the default is that you will continue down that route. And fortunately and unfortunately, God has made it so that you've been given choice. You've been given free will. Nobody can force you. None of us can force you. If you were meant to rule and you were meant to soar, unfortunately, none of us can force you. If you're an eagle that was raised amongst chickens, as much as we can tell you you're supposed to fly, unfortunately, you will have to decide that for yourself. As much as we want to say you should be flying, you should be soaring, you should be up in the mountains, there's only so much we can do. And that's why I think it's really important that if you are one of these people where you know it, most people don't feel like this, but there is a number of people who feel that there is something more. There is something that they could be doing. They feel this, it's like an uneasy and a restlessness. I don't really know how to even say it to you, but you know what I mean. You know that you shouldn't be where you are. You know that you're playing small. You just know there is something greater out there. And I just want to encourage you to go after it. Pursue it. Whatever you need to do, do it. Go after it. Run after your dreams. Run after your destiny. Don't settle for the life that's been given to you. Design it. Actually create it. Manifest it. If you will do that, my friends, I will believe that you can live the most remarkable life. I really do. I believe that you can live a life which is beyond even what you comprehend currently. In 15, 20 years, you will get to a point where you're like, I don't even know how that happened. I genuinely do not know how I've ended up here. Like so many people whose lives I study, where they're like, I don't know how my life got to this. I genuinely don't know how this happened. It's beyond me. I mean, one day I was there, and then now I'm here, and it's like 15 years have just gone. How did it happen? I challenge you in your life to get to the point where you soar, where you shine like you were meant to shine. I read one poem which says something on the lines of this: you playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born, all of us, to shine, and as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same as they become liberated from their fears. Live such a life that you liberate other people. That just by you being you, you free other people and give them the opportunity to become who they are capable of becoming. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I don't know what you think. You agree, you disagree? I'm always keen. What do you think? Comment below. What did you learn from the video? I'm always keen to hear from you guys, so send me a message, comment below, all the usual stuff. Subscribe to my channel, Cassim. That's where I put most on YouTube. That's where I put most of my stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and continue seeking to be your highest, fullest expression of yourself. Bye for now.